Welcome to Literary and Jury Charge Practice. Let's start out with this literary material, and it's called Preparing for Your First Reporting Job. We had actually read part of this previously, so we'll just continue on. Ready? Here we go. Leave early so you arrive early. This will allow time if you run into heavy traffic, get lost, or have to find parking. Occasionally, it has happened that two reporters were called for the same job. Food for thought. As the first of two reporters to arrive for the same job, I have never been asked to pack up and leave. Relax. This could be the most difficult one to achieve when you're stumbling through those firsts, but it's just as important as anything else. As you know, when you are tense, you can see it in your writing, but others can see it on your face. Being relaxed lends confidence to your abilities and skills. Above all, remember that while we strive to be perfect, we will never achieve perfection. That is not the obstacles in our path that will define us, but rather how we choose to overcome them. Always be courteous, kind, and respectful to others, and at all times remain neutral. Remember, always offer to provide the same services to all parties involved. The attorney who declines a copy of your transcript today may become your biggest client tomorrow. You are building a reputation that one day will precede you, so make it one that even your grandmother could be proud of. We, as your future court reporting community, welcome you. We look forward to seeing what you can bring to our profession and wish you all the successes life can offer. Like those before us, we have continued to build a profession that we know you can be proud of, knowing that our behavior and product represent not only us individually, our employers, and our community as a whole, but also those still to come, you, the future graduates. We hope you continue to pay it forward and enjoy all that reporting has to offer for a career to come. All right, now we'll try some jury charge practice. Ready? Here we go. Attorneys are permitted to comment on the law in their final arguments. However, if any argument included statements of law that were different from what I told you the law is, you must disregard such statements. You must decide the case on the law as I give it to you. Whether you agree with it or not, and whether or not you think the law is or should be otherwise. When you retire to the jury room, you will select one of your number to act as foreperson to preside over your deliberations. There are no set rules or procedures that you are to follow. Go about your deliberations as you think best. In order for you to return a verdict, whether guilty or not guilty, each juror must agree with the verdict. Your verdict must be unanimous. You should discuss the case with one another and deliberate with a view to reaching agreement. If you can do so without violence to your individual judgment, you should decide the case for yourself, but only after you have discussed the case with your fellow jurors and have carefully considered their views. You should not hesitate to re-examine your views and change your opinion if you become convinced they are erroneous, but you should not surrender your honest opinion simply because other jurors disagree or merely in order to reach a verdict. You must not permit sympathy, prejudice, or emotion to influence your verdict. You should base your verdict entirely upon the evidence which has been received in court and upon the law which I have given you in these instructions. You are to concern yourselves only with whether or not the defendant is guilty of the offenses charged. You are not to consider the possible consequences of your decision. Sentencing, if there is a finding of guilt, is the sole responsibility of the judge. You will be permitted to take with you to the jury room any exhibits which have been received in evidence, and you may consider them in the course of your deliberations. All right, we'll stop there. We will carry on with some literary practice. Get back to the jury charge later. Let's see what we have. Let's finish up our, actually, we already finished that one. This is called Ncra members share their tips for going green. Ready? Here we go. In honor of Earth Day, the JCR Weekly asked members, what is one way you're going green in your professional life? Respondents had an opportunity to elaborate on their answers and share their tips for going green. Going paperless. Members shared several different products to help them go paperless, including FreshBooks and QuickBooks for accounting, Annotate and Adobe Acrobat Pro for proofreading, Manuscript and Cat Scratch on Case Catalyst for transcript production and annotating, Dropbox and OneDrive for file storage, Google Calendar for date organization, Carbonite for data backup. Many court systems are moving towards going paperless anyway, which means officials need to follow suit, although sometimes the reporters are on the front lines. When we have an appeal, a copy of the transcript gets filed with the chief clerk's office. When I got here, I convinced the chief clerk to accept the transcripts electronically, says Carolyn Kerr, RPR, an official in Buffalo, New York. Having electronic files can make it easier to look up information. I use a scanner to scan all of my court schedules and documents. If I need to look something up, it's a quick word search to find the hearing, said Melinda Dexter, RMR, an official in Lansing, Michigan. My court district will soon be filing appeals electronically, and I will be able to look up names and spellings through the court file instead of having all the paperwork, said Rose Scott, an official in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. However, the two biggest hurdles to going paperless seem to be getting rid of old papers and having a logical electronic filing system. I am required to keep my notes in civil cases for 3 years and in criminal 15 years. I am going back to the beginning of time and scanning all my docket sheets and trial folders and archiving them along with my digital steno notes and daily real-time files. Then I'm shredding where appropriate and recycling the mountains of paper, said Molly Bowers, RDR CRR, an official in Hurst, Texas. Going forward, I am keeping all my documents in electronic format only. We scan, said Judy Walls, a firm owner in Kissimmee, Florida. We have generated scanned folders for almost everything from transcripts to exhibits to receipts to tax returns. Having recently been audited by the IRS, I have come to realize the importance of having everything organized in a way that allows for ease in accessibility and makes sense to find it. The IRS permits scanned images of receipts, etc., so original documentation and receipts are no longer required, said Sarah Neghetti, RDR CRR CRC, an official in Jefferson, Ohio. Neghetti is a past president of Ncra. So, I scan my receipts and documents, if not already electronic, and then place them in a tax year folder under the appropriate label names. If not near my computer, I use Tiny PDF, a free app on my phone, to take a photo of a receipt, which then converts it into a PDF document and uploads it to a selected folder in Dropbox right from my phone. Members have found paperless solutions for every step of a job. I specifically ask my clients if they want only electronic files of the deposition and exhibits, said Cherie Murphy Carlson, RPR, a freelancer in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I send as many transcripts as possible via email along with my invoice so that I save the cover, transcript paper, envelope, and invoice paper copy, said David Schroka, RPR, a freelancer in Dagsboro, Delaware. I also try to do minis as much as possible, which also saves on paper. back to this jury charge, which we are about finished with. We'll have to start a new one. Ready? Here we go. During your deliberations, the bailiffs are charged with keeping you together and secluding you from other people. You may talk with the bailiffs about scheduling. For example, you may talk with the bailiffs about when you might like to have a break for a meal and whether you would like to go out for that meal or simply order in. But you may not discuss the evidence, these instructions, or other issues in this case with the bailiffs. Once you have arrived at your verdict, you should then notify the bailiff that you have arrived at a decision, but you are to keep your verdict secret until it is received in court. The court and the parties appreciate the patience you have shown during this trial and thank you in advance for the diligence you will use to assess the evidence. The final test of the quality of your service will be in the verdict, which you, as a jury, return to this court. You make a definite contribution to the efficient administration of justice if you arrive at a just and proper verdict. Let's get back to some more tips for going green. Ready? Here we go. I am using a proofreader now. I send my transcripts to her electronically, so I no longer need to print a hard copy at home to proofread. And I know she proofreads on a tablet, so no extra paper there, said Cindy Sewers, RPR, an official in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Going paperless also means upgrading from a paper writer. I finally retired my two beloved flash writers, which used paper, and moved up to a top-of-the-line paperless steno machine, said Catherine Kirkland, RPR, a freelancer in Albany, New York. Going paperless for me is think before you print, said Linda Rifle, RDR, CRR, a freelancer in Columbus, Ohio. My goal for the year is to have all of my receipts and documentation in electronic format for my accountant at the end of the year. This includes saving, not printing, receipts for online purchases and having in-store receipts emailed instead of printed at the register. Transportation methods. Several members reported that they use the local bus, train, or subway system to get around. For many of them, taking public transit doesn't add much travel time, but does provide more convenience. I use public transit in Los Angeles because of the congested rush hour traffic. Also, parking is expensive, even with the county contribution of $70, which is then rebated to me and pays for the majority of my commuter expenses, said Christine Taylor, RPRCRR, an official in Sierra Madre, California. My husband is retired. We have one car, and he does drop off and pick up at the local station, which has the extra convenience of saving me the few minutes of parking the car. She added that she often carpools to state association events with other reporters. All right, we will stop there, and that will conclude our literary and jury charge practice.